Okay, good morning. Welcome to Tuesday morning yoga. This is the first out of our 12 sessions for winter 2021. We're gonna make this one a good one. We're gonna bring some good stuff to 2021 because we have to. We absolutely have to. So we're starting our practice today lying down on our back. So I invite you to get on your mat, lie down. You may right away feel that your lower back is a little bit grouchy. And if that's the case, just pick your hips up slightly off the mat, like just like not even an inch, and then settle them back down. If that's still not feeling right for your back, I would like you to plant your feet on the mat. So your knees are bent, your feet are planted. Take your feet out a little wider than your shoulders, and then allow your knees to relax in so that your knees are supporting each other. And then you might find you have a little more room for the lower back, a little more comfort. I know that when I lay down on the floor straight out, it doesn't feel great. So this is just a modification that you can make to help yourself feel more comfortable. So once you found that comfy spot, I'll invite you to take 3 huge breaths in through the nose. Hold it for just a second. Exhale. And again, inhale. Exhale. Let it go. One more time. Inhale through the nose. Exhale. Sigh it out. And then if you like, you could soften your gaze or close your eyes and begin to generate just some nice smooth breath in through your nose. Slowly hold and then out through the nose. In through the nose. Hold and out through the nose. Just try and get a back and forth, a cadence going with your breath so that the inhale and the exhale is pretty equal and that breath is flowing really smoothly. I find that once I cultivate the breath very consciously for 10 or maybe 12 cycles, it just becomes automatic after that. So at first you have to put a lot of mindfulness into it, but then once once you've anchored that breath, it does tend to naturally flow. So just focus in on generating that breath. Might even help for you to visualize your breath like the waves when you're standing on a beach and you see a wave come up and over the sand and then it retreats. And then the next wave comes up over the sand and then it retreats like your exhale. Once you have had a little bit of time to settle into your practice breath, I'd like you to turn your consciousness towards how your body is feeling on this particular morning. We'll start with a little body scan. So we'll start down at the toes. So just check in with the toes. You might want to wiggle them a little. And check in with the feet. Maybe give them a little point and flex and see how they're feeling. You could just slightly pick up your leg and do some ankle circles. Don't be surprised if you get a little snap, crackle, pop going. That happens. And then maybe circle the other ankle. And then let the legs relax, traveling up over the calves. Maybe you can just squeeze your calf muscles for a second and release them. The knees should be nice and soft. Traveling up over the thighs again. Maybe you can just flex your quad for a second and then let it relax. And traveling up to the hips. If the hips are still feeling a little touchy, you could just slightly rock them a little bit. Rock the hips. Settle the lower back down. Make sure it has lots of room. Your spine is nice and long. Your belly is soft and relaxed. You're not holding anything in there. Making sure that the shoulders are pressed down away from the ears and your arms are long. You could slightly bend at the elbow and then release your arms. Take some gentle circles with the wrists, going one way and then the other. And then ball your hands up into tight little fists and release. And again, ball your hands up and release, and then wiggle the fingers just a little bit. And checking in with the throat. You could swallow or even clear your throat. Be as loud as you want because no one can hear you. Check in with the jaw. You might open and close your mouth a few times. Make sure that the biting surfaces of your teeth are separated. You're not clenching your jaw. And just feel how passive your face is. The face is full of so many muscles, and right now, none of those muscles are doing a thing. Just totally relaxed. And the top of your head should be feeling warm and comfortable. If your neck is feeling a little touchy, you could just gently turn the whole head back and forth. Just a very small motion, but just making sure the neck is comfortable. And then if you have slightly lost your practice breath, just tune back into it a couple more times. So inhale through the nose. Hold for just a moment. Exhale through the nose. Inhale. Exhale. We're going to start by remaining on our back. If you have a strap handy, you might want it just to grab it and place it by your hip now, but the strap is not strictly necessary. I would like you to hug your knees toward your torso. So like you're a little baby, a little kid rolling around, you're going to pull your knees up toward your torso. Pull the right knee in the direction of the right armpit and the left knee in the direction of the left armpit. And just give them a little squeeze, and you might even use the traction of your hands to just gently encourage the knees out a little bit. So just opening the hips very slightly there. And then we're going to get the left leg to go long on the mat again. So you can stretch that left leg out straight, but keep a hold of the right leg, hugging the right knee in toward the armpit. And then I want you to really open your right hip. So you're actually going to encourage your knee out to the side of your body. We're getting into the hip flexors here. Again, just use the weight of your hand to provide gentle encouragement. You're not pulling your knee out so much as you're just using some traction to encourage the hip to open. And then you can hug the knee back in a more natural position with your hand, your right hand on your right knee. You could actually also bring your left hand to your right ankle, and then I want you to take circles with the leg. So you're holding on to your shin and you're making circles with the whole leg to get into the hip flexor. Nice and slow. And then when it's feeling right, you can reverse direction. So just almost like we're stirring a pot here. So nice big stirring motion, getting into those hips. And then you can hug that right knee back in toward the torso. I'll ask you to take a hold of the right thigh. And if you can, interlace your fingers behind the right thigh. If this is not feeling approachable for you, you could grab your strap at this point and put the strap around the back of the right thigh. And then I want you to push your right heel up toward the ceiling. Do not expect your leg to come straight unless you're a gymnast or something. A lot of us are going to have quite a lot of bend in the knee. What I want you to focus on is pushing the right heel up toward the ceiling and peeling your toes back down toward yourself. So that foot is super flexed. Toes are very active. And once your leg is up there, then you can alternate between flexing the foot and pointing it. So going back and forth, point and flex, point and flex, point and flex. And then you can take circles with the ankle again. Just take some circles, and then you can reverse direction. And then hug the right knee back in toward the torso. Just give it a little hug, and then we'll send that right leg straight on the mat. And this time we're going to hug the left knee in toward the left armpit. And then we'll take the left hand and just use the weight of the left hand to encourage the hip to open out to the left. So taking that left knee out, letting the hip open, staying there for a moment, staying with our nice steady breath. And then we'll bring the left knee back toward our torso, and with the left hand on the left knee and the right hand can be on the left ankle, I want you to stir the pot again. So you're stirring your whole leg and getting into the hip. Nice and slow, going whichever direction you prefer first. And then we can reverse the motion. And then hug your knee back in toward your torso. Again, you could take a hold behind, on the left thigh by intertwining your fingers, or if it's feeling more accessible for you, bring the strap around the back of your left thigh, and then very energetically push the left heel up toward the ceiling. Again, no expectation that the leg is anywhere near straight. You're actively pushing that heel up and peeling your toes back down toward you. Really active leg here. And then we can alternate between pointing that left foot and flexing it. Point and flex, point and flex. And then take some circles with the ankle, nice and slow. When you're feeling good, you can reverse the direction of your ankle circles. And then hug that left knee back in for just a moment, and you can send it long on the mat. Take a nice long stretch on your back. Get as long as you can. And then I want you to reach your arms, actually your whole torso. I want you to arc slightly over to the right. So it's like you're reaching over to the right. You're kind of putting a curvature in your spine, like you're a banana. So reaching slightly over to the right, feeling the left rib cage open just a touch, coming back to center, and then your leaning over to the left, putting the C curve in your spine the other way, reaching really far, feeling the right side of your rib cage open slightly. And then come back to center and gently and slowly bring yourself up to sit on your mat. We're all going to meet up in a seated position on our mat. Okay, so once everyone is seated, your choice, you could take what's called easy seat. It's not always so easy. So crossing the legs, if that feels right for you, or if you prefer, you can take a nice comfortable position with your legs stretched out in front of you. No matter which you choose, I want you to pay attention to where your tailbone meets the ground. Pull your abdomen in and feel yourself sitting up really straight, like someone is pulling you by the top of your head and elongating your spine. You can start with your hands just relaxed on your lap. Duck your chin down to your chest. Inhale, bring the head slowly up through center, and then gently look upward. I'm just exploring the range of mobility. It might be pretty great, or it might be quite reduced. Slowly bring the head through center. Again, bring the chin down to the chest. Inhale through center and looking up to the degree that works for you. And then bring the head through center. Bring the head down to the chest. And this time we're going to take circles with the head and neck. So going in the direction you prefer. Really, really nice, slow circles with the head and neck. Pause anywhere where you feel like you might need a little extra attention. You've got, a little stiffness. Give it some TLC. And then you can reverse the direction. Again, keeping it nice and slow, pausing it anywhere that you feel like you need. And bring your head back up to center. We'll bring our arms out into a T. We're going to bring the left arm underneath the right, so I'm mirroring you. And then we're continuing wrapping our hands for eagle arms, or simply bring your hands onto your shoulders. Make sure that you have space between your chest and the insides of your elbows, just so you can duck that head down a little bit. You don't need a lot of space, but just duck that head down and really actively focus on pushing the elbows up. Push back between your shoulder blades so the upper back is very, very rounded. Breathe into that space. Feel the space between your shoulder blades expanding. And we can release, arms can come out into a T. This time the right arm will come under the left. So your choice, you could wrap for eagle arms or bring the hands to the shoulders. If you're going for either, push the elbows upward, allow the head to duck forward, really push back between your shoulder blades. Upper back is really exaggeratedly round here. You're channeling your inner Quasimodo. And then you can release, bring your arms out to the side, and we'll just take some really slow, big circles with the arms, getting into the shoulders a little bit. Make them as big and slow as you can, and then reverse the motion. Slow it down. See if you can get your breath. Syncing with that motion. We'll bring the left hand down to the ground, walk it out to the side. Right arm comes up and over in an arc, and you're reaching toward the left side of the room. Really feel your rib cage opening on the right side of your body. Aim to breathe into that space. Nice big breath. And you can slowly bring yourself upright. And this time, the right hand comes down, walks out to the right, left arm arcs up and over, opening the left side of the rib cage this time. Really breathing into that space. Feeling the ribs expanding and contract. And coming upright. We're going to come into a spinal twist. So if you're cross-legged, you're going to place your left hand behind you on the mat like it's an extension of your spine. Actually, you're going to do exactly the same if your legs are straight as well. Use the left knee by bringing your hand onto it, whether you're cross-legged or not. So we're going to use that hand to give a little bit of traction. So you inhale, I want you to think about sitting up as straight as you can. Exhale, you're going to twist toward the left. The trick here is to try not to lead with your head. It's very tempting for us to look back as far as we can. We come into a twist, but really fight that urge. Let the head and neck remain soft. Feel the twist coming right from the base of your spine. And with each exhale, see if you can soften yourself and relax into the twist a little more deeply. And we'll release, and then we'll set up for the other side. So right hand comes behind you no matter what, taking a hold of the right knee, sitting up really tall, and then exhale into that twist. Again, if you notice that your head is trying to lead, just tell your neck to relax. Feel the twist coming right from the tailbone. And release, unwind. If you have your legs crossed, you can keep them that way. If you prefer, have your legs stretched out in front of you. We're going to bring our hands down to either side of us. I want you to actively focus on peeling your toes back toward you. So your feet are very flexed and very active. As always, sit up nice and straight and then walk those hands forward. Just coming into a gentle forward fold. Exploring a little bit the range of movement here. You do not have to come very deep at all. I just want you to come forward until you start hearing from your hamstrings. Hello, hamstrings. How are you today? Nice deep breathing. If you went a bit further forward than you like, you're feeling a bit touchy, just back it up a bit. And then come back up to sitting. We're going to rock back onto our tailbone. So set your weight back. You could leave your hands out to either side of you for stability if you want. Lift the shins parallel to the ground, coming into boat. So option one, leave the fingertips down. Option two, bring the arms up. Fingers are very energetic, reaching forward. In either case, you're really engaging your core and lifting from the chest. So think of breathing up and forward. Try and hold it. Couple big breaths. One more breath. And release. Hands can come down to the mat. If you had your legs crossed in the last forward fold, cross them the other way. If your legs were outstretched, just let them out again. Peel the toes back toward you. Everybody walk their hands forward. And again, just come into a gentle forward fold for a few moments. And coming back up to sit. We're going to come onto our hands and knees. So make your way to your hands and knees in a way that makes sense for you. So our knees are going to end up right below our hips. And our hands are going to be beneath our shoulders unless that is too much for your wrists. If your wrists aren't comfortable with that, set your hands a little bit further forward. I'm going to come into my table with my hands under my shoulders. We'll set up for cat and cow. So on your inhale, let your belly down, lift the hips up, head comes forward, and maybe you have the range to look up. The head coming forward is more important than looking up. Exhale, reverse the motion. So the hips and head drop down, pushing up between the shoulder blades. Inhale, belly down, head comes forward and hips lift for cow. Exhale, push up between the shoulder blades, really round the back, coming into your cat. Let your head hang loose. Inhale, belly down, look forward for cow. Exhale, reverse the motion to cat. Take 3 more rounds of cat and cow with your own breath. If you like, you could add in some lateral motion, maybe pausing for a second to look over one shoulder and then the other. You could wiggle your hips. I'm going to do a little bit of freestyling here. Whatever feels good for your spine. And when you finish your 3rd round of cat and cow, you can just come back to your table. We're going to come into a variation of what I call tiger. So the first variation is that your weight is going to be centered on your left knee and your 2 hands. You're going to squeeze your right knee in toward your torso and exhale, push it back like a tail. Inhale, squeeze that knee forward underneath you. Exhale, push that right leg back. If you wanted to try to test your balance, you could pick up the left hand and put it forward. So inhale, the elbow and the knee come to meet underneath you. Exhale, stretch the leg back and the arm forward. Wow, this is great. Inhale, squeeze slowly underneath you. Exhale, reaching with the leg and arm one more time. Inhale, squeeze it in. Exhale, extend. Hold for 1 breath. And hand and knee can come down, and we'll set up for the other side. So again, same variation available. You could just work with the leg, or if you prefer, you could add the arm in. So inhale, squeeze that left knee in. Exhale, push it back. If you want to add in your arm, stretch the right arm forward. Inhale, squeeze the left knee in. Exhale, arm and leg extend. Inhale, squeeze them in and under you. Exhale, extend 2 more times. Inhale, squeeze it in. Exhale, extend 1 more time. Inhale. Exhale, extend. Stay for 1 breath. And then release. We're going to come up through downward facing dog. So if that's part of your practice, then you can head there now. If you prefer to stay on your hands and knees, I'll show you the modified version of downward facing dog. So I want you to set your hands about 6 inches forward of where they originally were. Turn your toes under, open your chest toward the ground. So your knees aren't going anywhere. You're just opening your chest gently toward the ground. So this is the kneeling modification of downward facing dog. If you're coming up through downward facing dog, take a few moments, pedal your legs out. No matter which variation you're in, take a moment to focus on your breath, draw it out, slow it down. If you're on your feet, I want you to bend your knees deeply and push your chest back toward your knees. If you're on your knees, just focus on opening your chest toward the floor. And now we're all going to meet up standing at the top of our mat. So make your way to the top of your mat in a way that makes sense for you. And we'll all roll up to stand. So meeting up at the top of the mat, standing up nice and tall. Abdomen is engaged. Your hands can relax down by your side. Your shoulders are broad and pushed down away from your ears. We'll inhale the arms up overhead. You might want to look up toward your fingertips, but it's not necessary. Exhale, swan dive down. Keep a generous bend in the knees, coming all the way down. We're going to hang out here for a second in ragdoll. So you can cradle one arm and the other if you like. Getting into the hamstrings here, and we're just going to add in a gentle swaying motion. It's a big stretch, so make sure you're leaving a friendly bend in those knees and just gently swaying. If you wanted more, you could even add in a little bounce. You're a ragdoll that's getting bounced around by some rough wind. Not too rough, though. And then come back to center. We'll bring our hands onto our shins. Inhale, lift halfway up so your back becomes flat like a table. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. One more time. Inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. We're going to bring our hands down to the mat. So really bend your knees. Bring your hands onto your mat. Step both feet to the back of the mat and come down onto your knees. So your knees are further back than they were in table, and you're aiming to make a nice long diagonal line all the way from your shoulders back to your knees. Take a big inhale here. Squeeze your arms in toward your torso so you're hugging in, and slowly, slowly, slowly lower yourself down as slowly as you can. Woo, big resistance there. So you can leave your hands underneath your shoulders. Inhale your head, neck, and chest up off the floor for cobra. Make sure you're not pushing into the hands though. Exhale, forehead's going to come back down to your mat. We'll do 2 more of those. So inhale, head, neck, and chest rise for cobra. Exhale, release. See if you can isolate where the lift happens, right in the lower back. Inhale, breathe that head up for cobra. Exhale it down. You can turn your toes under, push back up on hands and knees, and then you decide you can do modified downward facing dog, opening your heart toward the floor from your knees, or coming up through your standard downward facing dog. Your choice. Hang out there for a couple of breaths. And then slowly come up to stand at the top of your mat again. And we'll all roll up to stand. We're going to come into warrior two. So we'll start with the left foot forward first. So you can just come up to your mountain pose. Hands can be on your hips, so standing nice and tall. You're going to take a giant step back with your right foot. So step it back. The right foot is going to come parallel with the back edge of your mat. If you step back and it's too much or not enough, adjust your stance. You might need to wiggle the right foot back or the left foot forward. Find a stance that feels sustainable for you. Left arm is going to come straight forward. Right arm is coming straight back. Take a big inhale. Exhale, sink into the left knee. So you're lunging. If you feel like your knee is jutting out over your left ankle, just sneak that left ankle forward a little bit more. Coming into our warrior two. So your abdomen is really engaged. Try and make sure that you're not bending forward and collapsing. Your chest is very broad. Push the left knee out to the side with it, so your left big toe is really pushing into the mat and encouraging that knee out to the left. We'll add in arch your arms for those who want to take that option. So inhale, the right arm comes forward. Exhale, draw that right arm back like you were pulling a bow. Inhale, right arm comes forward. Exhale, pull it back. If you want to challenge, you can follow your hand with your eyes. Inhale, right arm forward. Exhale it back one more time. Inhale, right arm forward. Exhale it back. Turn your left hand so that your palm is upward. And I want you to scoop your arm up overhead, letting the neck be very gentle. You don't have to look up. Actually, the up is coming from your left arm. Your right hand can be on your right thigh, so supporting you with your back leg a bit. Coming into reverse warrior. Stay for a breath. And then coming back to warrior two. We're gently going to straighten out the left leg. So don't lock it out straight, but just rise up and straighten that left leg out a bit. And with your left arm, reach as far forward as you can, as far as you can. And then rotate that left hand down. It could come to your left thigh. It could come to the shin or the ankle or even down to the floor. Right arm is straight up overhead. Your right fingertips are really extended out. The right hand is very expressive. Let the head and neck relax. You can look down at your hand or just out to the side. If you want to challenge your balance, you could try looking up toward the right hand, but it's not necessary. Breathing big, big power pose here. And we'll put that generous bend back in the left leg, so really bend it. Bring the right hand down to the mat. You can bring your left hand to the outside, turn onto your back toes, and then lower that back knee down. So we're coming into a kneeling lunge now. If you need a bit more support for the right knee, you could fold your mat over and then set your right knee down on it. So your left ankle is well ahead of your left knee. You can place your hands on your left thigh and come up straight. Make sure your back toes are untucked and relaxed flat. We're going to come into a hip stretch here. If you know that you would like a little assistance from the block, you want that option, just have that block ready by your left instep. So inhale, think about getting tall. Exhale, I want you to imagine you're sinking your hips forward and down, keeping the hands on the thigh just for right now. Exploring how that feels. If you're good here, then just stay right here. If you want to come into it a little deeper, you could bring your hands down onto a block or even down to the floor. If you find that you're feeling a little bit stuck in your hip, I encourage you to lift your toes, and you can even bring that left foot out on a 45-degree angle just to provide a little bit more room. All your choice. Let the hips relax as much as you can. With each exhale, see if they can soften down a little bit. On your next exhale, I want you to back your hips up a little bit. So you're coming halfway out of this stretch, and just stay halfway out for a breath. And then I want you to come back in and see if you can find a little bit more room there. One more breath, and bring your hips back. We're gonna bring the left foot back beside the right. We'll set the block, if we were using one, just off to the side for a second. Bring your knees wide on your mat with your toes coming together. We'll just come into a child's pose for a second. So settle your hips back on your knees. Your hands can be forward. Maybe your head comes down to the mat. The forehead comes down to the mat. Just take a couple of deep breaths here. When you're feeling ready, we're all going to meet back at the top of our mat in a standing position. So get there in a way that makes sense for you. So if that means coming through downward facing dog, you can do that. If that just means coming onto hands and knees and then up, then that's what you do. And slowly rolling up to stand at the top of the mat. So we'll take our warrior two on the other side. So this time, the right foot is going to go forward, and we're going to take a giant step back with the left foot. The left foot is going to come parallel with the back edge of your mat. The right toes are pointing straight forward. Make sure that your right knee isn't jutting out over your right ankle. Right arm straight forward, left arm straight back, lunge down. If that knee came too forward, just sneak that left ankle a little bit further. See if you can get your right thigh parallel to the ground. So really powerful lunge here. With your right toe, push the right knee out to the side. Body is engaged. Your abdomen's engaged. You're really standing up nice and tall. Inhale the left arm forward if you want to take archer arms. Exhale, draw the left arm back. Inhale it forward. Exhale back. Inhale forward. Exhale back. One more time. Inhale it forward. Exhale it back. Coming back to regular warrior two. Turn the right palm upward and then scoop the air up and back. Let the head and neck remain relaxed. Left hand can come back to the left thigh. Just reaching up and over, getting tall and long to the right side of the body. And then we'll come back to warrior two. And then straighten out the right leg just a bit. So you're rising up. You're not going to lock that leg straight. You're just going to straighten it a bit. Reach as far forward as you can with the right hand. And then the right hand can come down. Thigh, shin, ankle, or floor. Left arm is straight up overhead. Left hands are very active. Fingertips are splayed open. You could look down toward your hand. You look out toward the side. If you want to challenge yourself, you could attempt to gaze up at your left hand. One more breath. No matter where you are, bring both hands down to the mat, framing the right foot. Turn onto the left toes, and then gently bring the left knee down onto the mat. Again, if you want the extra padding, fold your mat over. Do what you need to make that knee comfortable. Untuck the left toes. Bring the hands onto the right thigh. Kat, can you go away, please? Yeah, I know you want to be part of it. We're going to wiggle out that right ankle so that it's definitely not under the right knee because we need room to go forward and down. So inhale, get tall. Exhale, sink those hips forward and down. Seeing how that feels. If that's plenty right there, then you stay right there. If you want to take it a little forward, you could bring your hands down onto a block. So just making sure that both arms are on the inside of the right leg. Or you could even come down onto your hands. If you're feeling like you need a little more space, pick your toes up and put your foot, your right foot out on a 45-degree angle. Just gives you a little bit more space. Coming into our lizard pose. Big, slow breaths. One more. Come halfway out. So just back your hips up a little bit. Have a breath. And then sink back down. See if you can come a little bit further in. And we'll release. So you can bring your right foot back by your left. Set any props off to the side. Again, bring the knees out wide. Set your hips back on your heels. Take a brief child's pose. Slow your breath down. Even it out. When you're feeling ready, we're all going to come up to stand. So you make your way there and the way that makes sense to you. Maybe that's coming through downward facing dog, or maybe you just come up from hands and knees. We're going to come into a balancing position. We're going to do tree. So if you know that you would like the assistance of a piece of furniture or a wall in your home to help you with that, you can go there now. No matter where you end up, make sure your feet are narrow hip width apart. Your abdomen's engaged, standing up nice and straight. Your hands can come to your hips. And I want you to focus your gaze on something that's not moving a few meters ahead of you. It doesn't really matter at what level. Just focus your gaze on something that is not moving. Transfer your weight onto your right foot. Come onto the left toes, and then bring that free leg up. You could plant it on your shin, on your ankle. You could leave toe or toes down. Find a tree that makes sense for you. Engage the core. I want you to squeeze your bum. So it's like everything is getting pulled up and in, like a tree pulls its energy from its roots. Hands can come to heart center. And if you're feeling like it, you could grow your tree. See what kind of a tree you're growing today. If you sway or wobble or shake, that's perfectly fine. If you fall out, just get back in again. You can slowly bring your arms down if they were up. Hands can come back to hips. Inhale your free leg up and exhale it down to the floor. Shake out that right leg, get the circulation going again. We'll set up for the other side. So again, feet narrow hip width distance, standing up nice and straight, making sure that you're focusing your gaze on something that isn't moving. Transfer your weight onto your left foot. Inhale the right leg up. Plant the right foot against your shin or your ankle or toes down, whichever works for you. Hands can come to heart center. Make sure again You're squeezing your bum and your core is engaged, squeezing everything up through the center of your core. And then inhale, arms come up if you're feeling like growing a tree this week. Don't worry about swaying or shaking or falling out. Woo. And then hands can come back through heart center, right down to the hips. Inhale the free leg up and exhale it down to the mat, and then shake out that standing leg. We're going to come into a squat. So you have a few options. If you know that you prefer to do squat from sitting, you can bring yourself down onto your mat now. You could be sitting directly on your mat. You could be sitting on a block. Totally up to you. If you know that you'd like to come into your tree from standing, so feet are going to be a little bit wider than your hips, and your feet are pointed out away from each other on a 45-degree angle. Standing up nice and tall, you can bring your hands to heart center. Inhale to get tall, exhale to sink down. If you're on your mat already, knees can come out wider than your shoulders. Feet are also pointing out on a 45-degree angle. If you're coming from standing, once you come down, you might want to wiggle around a little bit and just give your hips some room. So no matter which variation you're in, your knees are out to the side. You can bring the backs of your arms to the insides of your knees, or if that doesn't work for you, you could use your hands, the weight of your hands, just to gently encourage those knees out, just encouraging the hips to open here. No matter which version you're in, think about keeping that torso really upright, really long. You can close your eyes here or relax your gaze. It's a good point to just focus in on your breathing again and slow things down. And just see if you can sit with this sensation, not judging it, just noticing how it feels. If you need to adjust for your needs, then you go ahead and adjust accordingly. And then see if you can come back into that stillness again. And you can bring your arms out from heart center. If you're already on the mat, you can stay there. If you're on a block or on your feet, gently bring your bum down to the earth. You might want to keep that block handy. We are going to do some bridge, and supported bridge is one of the options that will be available to you. So you can, if you're not already lengthwise on your mat, come lengthwise on your mat. Feet are planted, sitting up nice and straight. I want you to challenge yourself as you roll down onto your back to go as slowly as you possibly can. So release your knees and then engaging the core, roll back as slowly as you can. I know it is difficult when you get to a certain point, but we try. And then once you're down, knees are bent, feet are planted on the mat just below your bum. Your hands are down by your hips. Our first round of bridge, we will just do the regular unsupported bridge. So inhale to prepare. Exhale, push your hips up toward the ceiling. Push down through the backs of your arms and your hands and your feet, and see if you can get those hips to really go high. Keep the breath flowing. Remember, the harder you push down, the higher your hips can go. One more big breath. And exhale, you can relax your hips down to the mat. Gently windshield wiper your knees back and forth, nice and slow, just to release that extension in the back. If you have a block or even a rolled blanket handy, you could use that to do your supported bridge. If you don't have that option available, you could take 2 more active bridges. So again, hands are down by the hips, feet are planted, head looking straight up toward the ceiling. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, push your hips up. If you're going for the restorative version, you could pop your prop underneath your lower back. So it's not going under your bum. It's not going into the middle of your back. It's sort of going at the top of your bum, lower back. So you could settle onto your prop. If you're in active bridge, keep that breath moving. One more big breath. So active bridgers can bring their hips down. If you're on your block and a restorative bridge, just stay where you are. For active bridgers, one more time. Inhale, push the hips skyward. If you'd like, you could try rolling your shoulders underneath and clasping your hands behind your back. Again, if you're on the block, resting on the block, just stay exactly as you are for another 2 breaths. Now everybody push into your feet. See if you can lift those hips a little higher. If you have a prop to remove, pull that prop out now. Everybody bring their hips back down to the floor. Windshield wiper the legs back and forth. If you have your rolled blanket handy, I'll ask you to grab that and squeeze it in between your knees now. We'll bring our arms out into a T. Head is looking straight up. You can just pick up your hips ever so slightly and just slightly shuffle them to the left, and then release both of your knees over to the side. So you've got this bolster between your knees just to give a little bit of room. If you feel like you need some support so that your legs can really relax over to the side, you could pop your pillow or a block under your right thigh so that right thigh can really just relax. I want you to be able to just fully relax into this. So both shoulders should be firmly plugged into the mat. If you find your left shoulder lifting a little bit, just come out of the twist a little bit. You really want to keep both of those shoulders down. Deepening the breath, smoothing it out. One more breath. Gently bring your legs back upward to a neutral position. If you had a pillow or a block under your legs, switch that to the other side. If you need to re-grasp your blanket with both knees, do that. This time, slightly adjust your hips over to the right, and then the legs can lean over to the left. Again, if you want to put a pillow or a block under there, do so that your legs can completely relax over to the side. Make sure that right shoulder stays firmly down on your mat. If it's rolling up on you, then come out of your twist a little. Again, just exploring your breath, seeing where you can slow it down and smooth it out. One more deep breath. Slowly bring your legs upright and just set any props that you had off to the side. Squeeze your knees in toward your chest. So right knee towards the right armpit, left knee toward left armpit, just like we did at the beginning of practice. You could stay here. You could rock on your lower back and give yourself a little massage. If you want to go a little further, reach between your knees and then bring your hands around the outsides of your feet. Pull those feet up for happy baby. Either version will let you roll on your lower back and give it a nice little massage. If there are any other movements you'd like to take at this point in class, maybe you just want to take a nice long stretch, maybe, I don't know, you want to come into a shoulders down briefly, whatever you're craving, go ahead and take that movement now. Or if you're ready to come into Shavasana, you can start setting up for that. So I like to get comfortable by placing a bolster or a rolled blanket underneath my knees. Maybe I'm going to grab a little water first. If you have a pillow handy, you could put that under your head, or that could be your bolster under your knees. If you want to put on socks or grab a blanket, shawl, whatever you need. Eventually finding your way down onto your back. When you come down, just slightly lift the hips and settle them back down on the mat, making sure that there's room for your lower back and that nothing is feeling cramped or uncomfortable. If you'd prefer, you could plant your feet wider than your hips and allow your knees to relax in toward each other. For some people, that might be a better option than having a bolster under the knees. Depends how your back feels. Your hands can rest down at your side, or if you like, you bring your left hand over your heart and your right hand onto your belly. Kind of helps you tune into your pulse, the rate of your breathing, and your general energy. So sometimes it's nice to just hold that and notice it. No matter which position you've chosen to take, I want you to take 3 of those big resetting breaths. So inhale through the nose, hold for a moment, exhale, sigh it out. Sigh it out as loud as you can. One more reset. And with that final breath, let everything go. Let your effort go, your energy go. There's nothing for you to do or try and do or achieve except just breathe and just be present in the moment. Allow yourself to remain in stillness. If you're having intrusive thoughts, just push them away. You can deal with them later. If you're like me and your mind tends to wander a little bit, just bring it back to your breath. Allow yourself to slip into a well-deserved rest, and I will let you know when it's time to come back. You can begin to bring your awareness back into your body. Take a nice deep breath. And you can stretch. So you could take the arms overhead, wiggle fingers and toes, just taking small, comforting movements. When you're feeling ready, slowly roll over onto your right side. And you can bring yourself up to a comfortable seated position. Bring your hands to heart center. And lower your chin to your chest. I'll leave you with one thought for your week. And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain, when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what the storm is all about. And that's by Haruki Murakami. Thank you for joining me for practice today. Namaste. Okay, so I will